Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Gores here, giving you guys a deck profile. This was inspired by an old version of Phantom Knights I loved to play back in the day, which was PK Fire. The deck ran Burning Abyss cards and Phantom Knights, and I'm kind of doing the same little bit of flavor here where I'm playing Phantom Knights, but now we're playing Radiant Typhoon, and it's called PK Thunder. The deck is a ton of fun to play and has quite a bit of resiliency and can float. It can create an insane end board, and the deck has just been super fun, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys. So make sure you guys like and comment, and while you're down in the comment box down below, you guys can grab the export list for this as well as 2 other variants of the same deck, and make sure you guys go ahead and check those out because they're a little bit spicy. Now, let's get into our Phantom Knight engine. Beginning, we have 3 copies of Torn Scales, 3 copies of Silent Boots, 1 copy of Ancient Cloak, 1 copy of Ragged Gloves, and 3 copies of Fogblade. For our Radiant Typhoon, or the Thunder half of our deck, we have 3 copies of Radiant Typhoon Eldam, 1 copy of Phonix, 1 copy of Crocia, 1 copy of Meghala, and 3 copies of Swen. For the spells, we have 2 MST, 3 Radiant Typhoon Chant, and 3 Radiant Typhoon Vision, and then we have 1 Mandate. For our points in the main deck, we have 3 copies of Droll Lock, 3 copies of Book of Eclipse, and 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet, with the last card in our deck being Full Armored Xyz. For our extra deck, we have 1 Zeus and Utopic Draco Future, taking up the last of our 100 points. And then we have 1 Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon for going second line, 1 Downward Magician for 4 material Zeus play, 1 Dark Knight Lancer, 2 copies of Levier. We do actually make both copies in our combo, which feels super classic for those of you that used to play PK Fire back in the day. 1 copy of Cicada King, 1 copy of Utopic Future, 1 copy of Utopic Future Zexal, 1 copy of Raider's Knight, 1 Breaksword, 1 Totem Bird, 1 Xyz Armor Fortress, and 1 Xyz Armor Torpedo. For the side, we have 3 Flying Sea, 3 Game of Seal, 3 Dark Ruler No More, 1 MST, 2 Twin Twisters, and 3 copies of Grand Horn of Heaven for going first, because if we set this card with the rest of our combo, our opponent probably can't win anymore. This card definitely goes way too hard, y'all. This card is really good. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into some combos as well as an anti-Droll Lock Bird line for you guys to check out. So for our first combo, this is going to be Radiant Typhoon Eldam plus the Phantom Knights of Torn Scales and any other card for you to be able to discard with the Torn Scales. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to stand by main, normal summon our Torn Scales. From there, we're going to use the effect of Torn Scales, discarding a card to send a Phantom Knights card from deck to graveyard. We're going to send our Ragged Gloves from deck to grave. From there, we are going to special summon our Eldam, because we went first, and the effect of Eldam will then allow us to search for a Swen. It's important that we go Eldam before we try to use our Ragged Gloves, because we want to try and play around Droll if we can. From there, we are going to use the effect of the Ragged Gloves to send our Cloak from our deck to grave. From there, we are going to overlay these 2 into Levier the Sea Dragon. Then we are going to use the effect of Levier, detaching the Torn Scales to summon back the Ragged Gloves. From there, we're going to use the effect of Cloak to banish itself and search our boots. We're not going to use Torn Scales quite yet. We're going to try and play around Nibiru as best as we can. We're going to summon out the Silent Boots. We're going to overlay into our second copy of Levier the Sea Dragon. From there, we're going to use the effect of Levier the Sea Dragon again, because it's not a once per turn, well, not a hard once per turn, because it's from that era of Yu-Gi-Oh! And then we are going to summon back our boots. From here, we are going to overlay both of these into the F-Zero, and this is where our opponent would have to Nibiru us, which is actually going to leave us open to still do quite a bit if they do happen to have Nibiru and they are spending the points on it. From there, we are going to overlay into our Utopic Draco Future, and this is now going to make us Nibiru proof, and as well as have an interruption for anything else our opponent might have for us here. From there, we are going to use the effect of Boots to banish itself and go grab a Phantom Knight's Fogblade from deck to hand. And then since a Phantom Knight's card was banished from our graveyard, we can use the effect of Torn Scales, which will bring itself back. From there, we're going to overlay both of these into our Xyz Armor Torpedo. If you don't want to play the Xyz Armor card, like maybe you think it's a brick, you can opt to just make Cicada King here, or if you end up siding out the Full Armored Xyz Trap card for whatever reason, you can also just make Cicada King here. From here, we are going to detach to draw a card, then we are going to overlay into our Xyz Armor Fortress, and then detach to go search the Full Armored Xyz from deck to hand. From here, we are going to special summon out our Swen, and then Swen effect is going to grab Chant. We're going to activate Chant, which is going to let us search Meghala, and then we are going to summon out Meghala and overlay them both into a Totem Bird. From there, we're going to set the Fogblade and the Full Armored Xyz. And what this does here is this gives us a pretty incredible amount of interaction for our opponent's turn. Off this 2.5 card combo, we ended up with 4 interruptions. You can do this with pretty much any variation of Swen or the Eldam. You just have to kind of mix up the steps. It's pretty easy though. But you do get to end on Utopic Draco Future, Totem Bird, Full Armored Xyz, and Fogblade, which is a +3 cards in hand, which is 4 interruptions plus a Dark Knight Lancer, which is kind of like a pseudo towers. It can't be targeted while it's equipped with the Xyz Armor Torpedo. So that's pretty solid, I would say. Let's get into the same line, but instead they drolled us. So let's check that out. So our opponent has essentially Droll Lock birded us, so we need to figure out how to play around that. We are going to go standby main, Torn Scales effect, discard to send the Ragged Gloves. And then from there, we're going to special summon the Eldam. As I mentioned earlier, this is going to help us play around that Droll. So Eldam is going to trigger and search out Swen, and then, oh no, SpaghettiOs, our opponent resolved Droll Lockbird. So what we're going to do from there is we're going to use the effect of Ragged Gloves to banish itself and send the Phantom Knight's Fogblade from deck to graveyard. This is why we're on multiple copies of this card, as well as it just being a 0-point imperm for us. We're going to overlay and then make the Levier the Sea Dragon, and then detach the Torn Scales to bring back the Ragged Gloves. Then we're going to special summon the Swen here. We're going to overlay both of these into Levier. We're not going to be able to use this second Levier or its effect to summon back, but we are still going to use it to make our Utopic, because it's going to allow us again to play around that Nibiru. So now we have this Utopic Draco Future, and then we're going to use the effect of the Phantom Knight's Fogblade to bring back the Ragged Gloves, and then because a Phantom Knight card was banished, we can now use the effect of the Torn Scales, bringing itself back from the graveyard. So now that we have the Torn Scales, we can overlay it with the Ragged Gloves, and we can make a Cicada King. Now this board isn't nearly as good as a board that, you know, didn't get drolled, but we still do have 2 monster effect negations. If we do end up using the Cicada King on our opponent's turn, make sure you detach the Ragged Gloves first. That way on your follow-up, you can use it to send Cloak, and then use Cloak to add the Torn Scales from deck to hand. So this last combo is kind of crazy. Like, you do have to open balls to the wall. It's something you can really only pull off turn 1, but it does happen quite a bit, and it is extremely powerful. So let's check that out. So this last combo, what needs to happen is we have to open Torn Scales, Eldam, or Swen, and Vision or Chant. So what we're going to do is we're going to standby main, normal summon Torn Scales, trigger the Torn Scales effect to discard the extra card in our hand to send the Ragged Gloves from deck to grave. Again, playing around that Droll Lockbird, then we're going to summon out the Eldam. Eldam effect is going to activate, adding Swen from deck to hand. From there, we are going to use the effect of the Ragged Gloves to send the Ancient Cloak from deck to grave, and then from here we are going to overlay into Levier effect. This is all going to be very similar to what we saw earlier. To bring back the Ragged Gloves, then we are going to Cloak to go grab Boots, and then again summon the Boots first. Make the Levier to summon out the Ancient Cloak, and then from there, we are going to overlay into our Utopic Draco Future, and then use the effect of Boots to go grab the Fog Blade, which will trigger the Torrent Scales to summon itself back, and we will overlay into our Xyz Armor Torpedo. Then we are going to use the effect of Torpedo to draw a card, and summon out the Swen to search Chant. You probably want to do this before you make Xyz Armor Torpedo. And then we are going to activate Chant to go grab Maghala, and then we are going to make the Xyz Armored Fortress using its effect to go grab the full armored Xyz. And then from there, we are going to activate Radiant Typhoon Vision to add MST from deck to hand, which is going to trigger the Maghala to special summon out Crozia from deck. And then when Crozia is summoned, it's going to add a Radiant Typhoon Mandate, as well as an MST from our deck to our hand. So we are going to set 5, and then we are going to overlay into our Totem Bird. From there, we're passing to our opponent. Now, what needs to be understood about this card, Mandate, here is we need to shotgun this in the draw phase for this to do what we want it to do. In the mirror match, we have the Totem Bird to be able to negate the MST, but this is an example, right? Like, let's say our opponent activates a card, we can go ahead and activate this full armored Xyz, and then once per chain, Mandate is going to allow the MST to negate a face-up card. So we're just going to use the MST to target our own full armored Xyz, destroy it, it's still going to resolve, and then Mandate is going to negate a card on the field, and then we can Xyz summon into our Dark Knight Lancer, which with the Mandate, we have a total of 1, 2, 3, and then 4 Utopic Draco Future, 5 Totem Bird, and 6 being the full armored Xyz. So this is a +6 with 6 interruptions on our opponent's turn. Extremely powerful. And then the other thing with the MST too, let's say we Fog Blade an opponent's monster, and we already used the MST full armored Xyz line. Let's say we Fog Blade an opponent's monster, and then they summon another card, and they try to use that monster effect. We can chain MST to pop our own Fog Blade, and then Mandate will trigger, because it's once per chain, not once per turn, to negate that card on the field. So it's 2 negates off this Mandate. And then also we have a draw 3 by putting back our Radiant Typhoon cards, or the other copies of MST to be able to draw to, or if we had to discard a different card, like let's say we had to discard a Book of Eclipse, we could put that back as well. So that's it for the deck profile, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you guys put down in the comments down below what deck you would like to see next, and I'll put a couple of the other lines in the YouTube shorts down below for you guys, and as well as the description box will have the export file for this deck list, as well as an invite to the Genesys format Discard. So make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. This has been Gores, signing off.